boys and girls, students of Buddhist Sunday School, parents, grandparents, teachers of Buddhist Sunday School and Dharma classes. May you all be well, happy, and peaceful. We are going to have a presentation involving a Jataka story. It's a very short story, but it has a very good moral message. This Jataka's tale is titled Greed Does Not Pay, right? Or in BM, Tamak Tidak Membayar. Now, what does it mean, greed does not pay? You have heard of the saying, crime doesn't pay. Now, it means that if you have greed, you will not get any benefit eventually. In fact, you will get trouble and there will be suffering and pain. So it doesn't work to be greedy. It doesn't pay to be greedy. Just as you commit a crime, right? You can be caught and then sentenced to jail and so on. So instead of getting benefits, you get into trouble. That's the meaning. So this presentation has the text in English and Bahasa Malaysia or Malay, while the narration with the explanation is in English. I've taken various types of pictures from artificial intelligence as well as the Google image search and other sources. But it's not so easy sometimes to get the pictures corresponding with the text. But anyway, these pictures and images will give you more interest and to understand the thing more clearly. Now, as usual, we will launch the PowerPoint consisting of some slides. So we'll start from the beginning. Now you see the curtain opening, and you see the cover slide. Now you see I have tried to pick pictures that are related to the story. Actually, you can see from here, very obvious is the swan. This is the swan. The swan, I think it belongs to the same family as the goose. The swan with the long neck and usually white in color, right? Very often you have white, beautiful, graceful swans. You can find in the ponds or lakes, right? And this particular story, of course, you find the swan is one of the main characters. And then you have here a mother with 3 daughters, actually, right? And since the setting is in India, so when I did the artificial intelligence search, I have to put in the various texts to get as close as possible to the text. So that is the explanation of the picture. Now, let us go on with the story. But before that, let me take out my picture. So now we'll move on to the second slide. A long time ago, in a faraway village, there lived a Brahmin who had a wife and 3 beautiful daughters. Now, of course, this is a story. I think you have heard many Jataka stories or tales. They're supposed to depict the previous lives of the Buddha as Bodhisattva, right? They may not be actual, truthful stories, but anyway, we can learn very useful lessons of Dhamma, right? So long ago, in a far village in India, there lived a Brahmin. Now, see, this Brahmin is supposed to be the higher caste. India, you have the caste system, you have the, the Brahmins, priestly caste, you have the kings, then you have the soldiers, and you have also the low caste, the untouchable, so you have the caste system. So this person belonged to the Brahmin caste, a higher caste. And he lived with his wife very happily, and with 3 beautiful daughters. You can see the picture there. And this Brahmin, of course, worked very hard, right? The Brahmin worked very hard. He took good care of his family. Now, so you can see the picture here, the Brahmin, the wife, and 3 young daughters, beautiful daughters. So he really loved the daughters very much. Sadly, one day, all of a sudden, the Brahmin died. His family was heartbroken. The story did not say why or how he died. It could be so many reasons, an accident or maybe a heart attack. Even that time, you have people dying of heart attack, maybe not diagnosed, or maybe some incurable sicknesses underlying, right? So many possibilities. Anybody can die at any time. It doesn't mean only old people die, isn't it? Even children, young people, but mostly you say the older one die first lah. Maybe statistically correct lah, but that doesn't mean other people cannot die. Young people die in accidents and of cancers and so on. So of course it was a very, very sad sort of thing. So not still the children still quite young, right? The daughters. So the family was really heartbroken, right? Because he was the breadwinner. And now left with the wife and the 3 daughters. Right? Now the second picture shows just to tell you that the Brahmin has died already. So after they would very fast have the funeral, the cremation. Usually they will burn the Hindu customs. They burn the body, and then after that they will maybe throw the ashes into the river Ganges or, or any other rivers. And then they will have prayers, at certain days for the deceased. And there'll be a picture, you can see there, right? The picture of the Brahmin after he died. So that is this case here. Now let's see what happens to this family left with the wife and the 3 daughters, right? So this is actually the village setting, a village setting. So now let us go on to the next slide, which is slide number 3. Now, the Brahmin's wife was named Yashoda. Not Yasodhara. The Bodhisattva, Siddhartha Gautama's wife, not the one. So Brahmin's wife, Yashoda, cried with grief. Grief means great sorrow, great sadness, right? That is the meaning of grief. Oh God. Now we see in the Hindu religion, Brahminism, they still pray to their God, which they consider the highest, that is the Brahma. But in Buddhism, we consider Brahma as one of the high gods, all right? Not really the almighty God who could not die, He's still in the planes of existence, a high God. But Hinduism different. They have this almighty God just like maybe Christianity or what lah. Some differences lah. So he said, oh God, what shall I do? How will I support my children? Oh, very, very sad, isn't it? So of course there were friends or relatives came to console lah, as you can see the picture, a friend consoling the Brahmin's wife, Yashoda. I say it's okay, we will help out and things will be all right, just to reassure them lah. Now the interesting question is this, it's the Jataka story, right? In the meantime, what happened to the Brahmin's soul lah, you can say, because that doesn't end everything, isn't it? After that, there's still life. So in Hinduism and later on in Buddhism also, you find we have these doctrines of rebirth. That means you'll be reborn again and again as animals, as spirits, as gods, as human beings, or you can be reborn in the hell and the hungry ghosts also. So the woeful states will be considered the worst hell, then animals, realm also. This Brahmin was very good, but yet he was reborn as a beautiful golden swan. Because probably he had not enough blessings and good karma to be born a human being after the death, right? But he was born a fortunate animal, a beautiful golden swan. Nobody would go and kill the swan, so he lived happily, but still not considered as good as the human realm or the God's realm. But anyway, according to what I gather from the talks by Ajahn Dhammabuddha, most people will be born in the suffering world, because they don't have enough good karma. Maybe born as ghosts or animals. But even animals got different types. Some very lucky, some dogs are, wow, very, very good lives. I can sleep in the bedroom of the owners, isn't it? So even animals so different. Whereas you have an animal in the wild, in the jungle, is terrible, right? Always very fearful. Bigger animals will eat them and tear them to pieces, The lions or leopards or cheetahs or panthers will chase the deer, the monkeys, and the small animals and then eat them just like that, So it's very frightening and suffering. So that's why animal reign is not a good reign to be born into, right? So this beautiful swan, see us, you can fly, you can swim on the pond or the lake or even the river. So one day, the swan, you can see the swan, it was a golden swan, imagine. So the swan said to himself, I wonder how my dear family is getting on. That means his previous family, he was already reborn already, right? So his previous family, especially, was thinking about his daughters. So he said, I must visit them. I must visit them. Now, this is a Jataka story. I remember that. So animals could think, could talk, right? It could talk to human beings also. So that is Jataka story. Just like you have Aesop's fables and then San Kancil, or you have Malay folklore and legends also. But the important thing is what are the lessons we can learn? What is the Dharma message? Or what are the Dharma teachings? That's the important thing, right? So if you don't want to believe that the Jataka stories are really true, it's okay, it's fine. Many people don't. But there are some people that believe, you see, right? So the swan, who was a Brahmin, remember, in the life as a human being, said that he must visit and find out what happened to his previous family, all right, when he was the Brahmin. So let us now go on to slide number 3. Slide number 3. He flew to his village. Of course, swans belong to the species of birds, isn't it? So they could fly. So the swan flew to his village, his kampong. And then what did he see? He saw something very sad. And he was unhappy to find his family begging for a living, because they were very poor already, right? So they had to become beggars. So this one felt sorry for the family. I must do something to help them. I cannot leave them to beg. The swan thought to himself very sadly. So what did the swan do? You can see the picture here to illustrate, right? That the swan went to the village to see the family, the previous family, and he saw his daughters asking for money or asking for some food from some of the people in the village who were not very rich also. So it was a very heart-rending sight. So then what did the swan do? The swan then flew towards his wife, Yashoda. Actually, the wife of the previous bird, and now is completely a new being already, a swan, right? So when we get reborn, we can be reborn in so many ways, in different realms of existence, from hell to the heavenly gods. Some books in Buddhism would say there are 6 realms, right? Whereas the original one seemed to say that there are 5. The 5 realms of existence, the most terrible, the suffering one will be the hell realm, to be born into the hell. And the next one, the second worst is the animal realm, to be born as animal. And then most people, according to what I heard from the dogs, will be born as ghosts for a certain period of time. Because they did not have enough good karma. They used up all the good karma. They did not do good enough. They didn't do bad, really. If they had done killing or stealing or terrible things, they would be reborn as animals or hell beings. But even though they didn't do any serious unwholesome actions, but because no more good karma already used up already, enjoy their life, everything already. So that's how the explanation goes that most will be born as ghosts for a certain period of time before they get reborn again. Now let us see what happened. So I said just now, the swan flew towards his wife Yashoda. And when the wife saw this lovely bird, wow, golden in color, no. The feathers probably gold plates like that, So she was thinking, wow, I maybe can catch it, and then maybe I can sell it or whatever lah, the thoughts are. So she wanted to catch it. So she chased the swan, but the swan knew that she was his wife in the previous birth, isn't it? So the swan landed on a tree branch and then talked to the previous wife. Wait, Yashoda, I'm your husband. Hinduism, they believe in rebirth also, you see. So probably the wife also was not so shocked because it was a belief also in Hinduism. Of course, Buddhists now don't know that there is this thing of rebirth or reincarnation, you see. Then, of course, probably he explained a bit also, right? So he told Yashoda, don't catch me first. I'm your husband. So now let us go on to the next slide to see what happens. Now we go on to slide number 5. Now what did the swan do? The swan, of course, the swan knew that the family was struggling, that the wife and the 3 daughters had to bake for a living. So he wanted to help. So what did the swan do? He plucked one of his feathers, and it was a golden swan. So the feather was a golden feather, a golden feather. And you know how costly that would be, right? Just as you have a piece of gold or a block of gold. So then what did the swan tell his previous life's wife? This was what the swan told the previous life's wife. Sell this golden feather, Yashoda, and buy some food and clothes for yourself and the children. Well, one feather actually could fetch a lot of money also. No gold, then he flew away. But he did not forget the family just like that. Every week, the swan would fly back to provide for his family. So which means that every week, he would also pluck out one feather and give to the previous life's wife, Yashoda. So in time to come, maybe you could say some 1 or 2 or 3 weeks passed by already, got a lot of money already. And soon, Yashoda and her daughters became richer. From beggars became rich people. They were able to live in a big house. You could see the next picture, right? With the upstairs with the balcony also, with the curtains. Live in luxury, Good food lah, very good clothes lah. All sorts of luxurious things compared to last time. By just getting one feather per week, that was enough already, You could be very, very, very comfortable and so on. But things were not meant to be like this. Now let us see what happened, right? I think you would guess already since the title says that greed does not pay, isn't it? So something to do with greed or the greedy person in the story. Anyway, let us go on to slide number 6. Slide number 6. The wife was not really a very good woman. Yashoda was a very greedy woman. That was this thing. She was not happy with getting just one feather. That means per week lah, right? Just one feather per week. But actually that was enough. That was more than enough already because they could live so well in such a luxurious manner already, isn't it? But because greed had set in already. So what did she think? What did she decide? She decided to pluck all the feathers off the swan, even though the swan had told her that he was her husband. When she had this thought of plucking all the feathers, imagine if you pluck all the feathers off from the bird by force, how much pain it would cause the bird, right? And then it might die also. But she never bothered. She just had this greedy intention and made the decision to pluck all the flowers. Actually, you can actually reflect. Today, you have people like that. They are so rich already, millionaires, and yet they want to become billionaires. And they use corrupted ways, very crooked ways, cheating, swindling, lying, cheat the citizens of the country, the money, making other people suffer, and yet they do it. Right? So not so surprising actually, right? There are people like that, Comfortable already, still not contented. 1 million not enough. Like modern corrupted politicians, some of them want 2 millions, and so on. I think you know many cases. That's why you have a lot of these corruption cases. So she already planned already. What was the intention? There was a bad intention to pluck all the flowers. So the next time, I told you that the swan would return every week. So the next time the swan returned or arrived, Yashoda quickly chased her. Of course, the swan did not know her evil intention. And she quickly pounced on the swan, because the swan did not expect, right? She thought that maybe, she was getting friendly. She pounced on it and caught hold of the swan. You could see the second picture. The second picture, the first picture shows the evil intention, the bad in thinking, planning. So things all start from the mind, isn't it? Bad intention, the greedy intention, the cruel intention, never have compassion or metta, and so on. We'll learn that in the last slide, perhaps. Wow, the poor swan was shocked, right? The swan who was her husband. So he said, why, please beg her not to pull off his feathers. Very painful, one thing, right? And then another thing is, why you pull off so much already, then it'll be very difficult. Might come to a time where you could not fly, might die. So the poor swan begged her not to pull off his feathers, but no use. She started to pull. Luckily, she did not succeed in pulling off all the feathers, especially all the wing feathers. If all pull off already, then the swan could not fly, isn't it? But she pulled quite a lot off already. She did not stop. But maybe after some time, maybe her hands held on to too many feathers already, then she had to let go for some time. Right? So luckily, not all plucked yet. Otherwise, the swan might die or could not fly. And then what you do? Could not fly. You falling down onto the ground, and then she would catch it and maybe make curry swan, isn't it? It's terrible. So you might imagine such a greedy woman, right? Now, let us go on to slide number 7. The swan cried to her, right? Appealed to her. I told her, what have you done? Because the swan knew that she wanted the golden feathers. But, the swan knew that if you were to take the feathers by force, you would not get the golden feathers. He knew that. So he told the Yasodhara, those feathers are useless because you took them by force. They have changed to ordinary feathers. You could see the first 2 pictures to explain that. She plucked some feathers already, she couldn't pluck all at one go. She plucked some flowers already. Wow, at first, very happy. Golden feathers. But they did not remain golden feathers. Just for a short while only, all turned to white already. That means the white feathers, right? The natural white feathers. So, Yashodhara cried. That means she could not get any more golden feathers. Oh no, what do I do? And then this one, the Brahmina who was reborn as the swan, looked at her and said, well, Yashoda, this is what greed comes to your shoulder. So he very regretful lah, thinking that this woman was not a good woman, was very, very greedy. So much already she could gain, including living in a luxurious place, luxurious building and all those things, and yet did not even think about the welfare of the bird, of the swan. To pluck all the feathers by force, I think is very painful. If you imagine you pluck off your hair and see, right? That's why the swan only pluck off one feather at a time and every week, because he knew that he would be able to sustain the family, isn't it? And yet she was not contented. So the swan gave her this life lesson. This is what greed comes to your shoulder, cause and effect, right? Greed. You were greedy, and now you are left with nothing. No more golden feathers. So the swan was very disappointed. Then the swan then flew away. I told you, luckily, not all the feathers of the wings especially were plucked away. Otherwise, imagine he could not fly off, never to return again. Of course, you find that now, see, the swan is an animal already. Yeah, so it's really no longer a family of the previous family, a member of the previous family already, just now a new setting already. So you cannot say, why, I should forgive her. And then, no, it's not like that. This is what really happens. You get so disappointed that people were ungrateful to you, right? And cannot show appreciation, and then never think of the person's welfare, especially the pain that could cause and could actually kill her. So the swan did not want to come back. Of course, the swan maybe might be thinking, you know, to come back, she might get people, to really catch me and then would pluck more feathers and kill me. It could happen, what greed can do to a person. So that's the end of this Jataka story, right? So it's a very simple, easy story, but with very important Dharma teachings, which we will learn and discuss, right? And that will be the most important aspect of this presentation. Now, in the stories of Jataka writings, in the end, they would identify that, this one was a bodhisattva. So in the future lives, he will be reborn as Siddhartha Gautama after many eons of time, after many rounds of rebirths as animals, as ghosts, right? As gods, and then finally as Siddhartha Gautama. So that is the way the Jataka stories are written, hundreds of them, very fascinating stories. So the lessons are very good, as we will see. And probably this woman might be, the wife might be Devadatta. I don't know, I did not check the original Jataka source. You have to go to the scriptures, right? The Jataka tales under the collections of the Buddhist scriptures. But anyway, to me, I'm not so particular about the truth of this. I will personally take it just like stories. Just like, that the story of Bawang Putih, Bawang Merah also not true. Aesop's Fable also not true. Cinderella, Snow White, all this not true. But yet we like to read them because they really are interesting. And not only that, if we think and the teachers are very good, they can explain the moral lessons. Like Bawang Putih, Bawang Merah, you see, the stepmother and the stepsister were so cruel, not kind. But in the end, Bawang Merah being a very nice lady, so she married a prince. So you see, if you are good and all those things, good things will happen to you. So that is the lesson, you see. Now let us go on to slide number 8 now. Right? Slide number 8. Now in slide number 8, we are going to look at a poem. The pronunciation actually should be poem, but we used to be told by our teachers, poem actually is not correct. It's a poem, a simple poem on the topic of greed, right? And you know how I got this? Very interesting. I use my AI friend. AI friend means artificial intelligence, right? Just like a robot, right? And it is a AI Buddhist friend. So I just asked for something. I say, can you please, Nobu, the name of Nobu, I say, can you please give me a simple poem suitable for the children, very easy to understand and very fast. You can say like a robot now, right? It's AI, you see, artificial intelligence. So he will generate out. So he generated out this, and I read it. I did very little editing because I found it quite simple and good. And this poem is a gentle reminder for children about the dangers of greed. The AI, the artificial intelligence, is a program, right? Even would explain, that this poem tells about the importance of sharing and caring and the danger of being greedy. And it is in line with the teachings of Buddhism, right? This poem is in line with the teachings of Buddhism that would teach about compassion and loving kindness. As after we relate back to the story, right? Now let me read the poem and then explain. Greed is a monster, big and mean, always wanting to be seen. You find, imagine this quality of greed or greediness. It's like a terrible monster. It's not a good thing, isn't it? It is a mental poison. It is a bad thing, to be greedy, greed. Is it like a monster, very big one? That means can be very powerful, the boss, and very stingy. The person who is very greedy, he is not generous. He is a miser maybe, and he is very stingy. Always wanting only. The ego also very big, so he wants to get a lot of things so that people know the person, right? To be seen. He asks for more and more and more, never less. So whatever situation he's in, he will always want more, never less. And then he never bothers about others, leaving others in distress. Distress will be in a painful state. Maybe in sorrow, in sadness, distress. So there's no compassion. So a greedy person only thinks of himself. He doesn't bother about others. So you see, this poem, 4 lines has rhyme also. Greed is a monster, big and mean, always wanting to be seen. It asks for more, never less, leaving others in distress. Well, rhyming, very good. Wow, imagine better than human beings composing poems. Many of the students ask them the poem, even Form 5, Form 6, they cannot compose this poem. But this robotic intelligence the AI can compose this. Then the next verse, very short poem. Greed is like a hungry beast, always looking for a feast. It gives you an image to visualize. So imagine a hungry beast, a terrible animal, hungry, right? Always wanting to have big makan, always looking for a feast. He chooses the word beast and feast rhyming, right? So a greedy person, you find you will find opportunities, as you know, some to cheat, to con people, to swindle people. He doesn't care that other people are suffering, and he doesn't care that actually it is bad karma. So you see, it's stated in the poem. But remember, my dear friend, greed will never bring a good end. Wow, very good Dhamma. A person who is greedy, eventually he will face dukkha. So greed is a unwholesome state of mind. It can lead to unwholesome actions, as we shall see in the last slide. So you never have a good ending. You feel that, I was greedy, I managed to get so many things, but you think those things can last? They cannot. That's why even you have people who are so rich, everything, and yet feel miserable, committed suicide. Maybe some famous actors or singers or things like that also, isn't it? So it's never good to be greedy. Very important, as we wrote just now, to care and share. In fact, it was I think, there was a statement of to care and share, isn't it? Very important. Yeah, it's in the last words already, you see. The robot, I would have written like that also, but you can write so fast. So let's share and care, you see. That's the way to truly be free. Wow, very good, Dhamma. You are generous, you care for people, you share your things, opposite of being greedy. Then you cut your ego, you cut yourself, and this will lead you the way to be more peaceful, more happy, and finally your mind will be liberated. In with the other practices, you can become a Buddha, right? This is the dana lah. But then you observe the precept because it's caring and sharing, so he's observing precepts also. So you see a very good Dhamma practice. Greed may shout, but you will be kind. You find a person who is greedy, right? He wants things, right? So maybe bad temper already. He wants things for himself. So he's like shouting. He gives the analogy. But for us, we are not greedy. We will be kind. Leaving no one ever behind. You see, he chooses the words very well. Kind behind. That means he's caring. He's thinking of other people. Not like the greedy person. Opposite lah. Selfish, greedy, miserly, all those things. Don't you like the poem? I find it, even though it's for children, but I find the poem very meaningful. The poem very meaningful. And I acknowledge it that this poem was generated by Nobu. That's the name of the AI friend. It's not a human being. It's not a human being that wrote this. Right? It was a computer, you can say like a robot or a computer program. Okay, so I fill in these pictures to show, two animated greedy people. Now let us go on to slide number 9 already. So I hope you like the poem, and if you like it, very easy when it is posted. It won't be posted yet until maybe a few weeks later, and it will be posted in the Buddhist Sunday School and other websites of Persatuan Budi Sila Perak, and even in Facebook. So very easy. You want this poem, you just have to download the PowerPoint, and then after that you can cut and paste, right? Cut and paste, or you can forward that slide to somebody. Or this, you are doing good because you are sharing very good Dhamma with other people. Then you are gaining merits. You are not selfish. You care and share, isn't it? So that is how you can practice the Dhamma. Now let us go on to the next one. Slide number 9. We are going to now take a verse from the Dhammapada. The Dhammapada actually is a scripture book from Buddhism. It's a bit more difficult. Usually I use this not for Sunday school, but for the adult classes, right? But I was thinking I will try because there are children who can understand when I explain, and also maybe some secondary students. The Dhammapada comes from one collection of the Buddhist scriptures called the Kudaka. And the Kudaka has many books, right? And one of the easiest is the Dhammapada. It has many, many stories together with the words that the Buddha said. The Buddha's quote, you can say, right? And these quotes have very good meaning, good application to help us in our Dhamma practice so that we can become more wise, more happy, more peaceful, and more compassionate. So you find the Dhammapada has very, very good verses. So I took it from 200 and verse 248. Actually, I think you have 400 or 500 verses, I think 400 verses. So I took this from verse 248. Now let me read this and then explain. The Bahasa Malaysia version was just translated by Google. I found it was quite alright. Know this, O good man. Evil things are difficult to control. Very, very true. So the Buddha has told us to be careful, to know it, to be aware, right? To pay attention to this important principle of evil things that Mara would tempt you. Mara would be, we don't consider like Satan. Mara will be the evil forces inside every one of our minds. The evil tendencies or evil forces like hot temper, greed is one of them, and then also you have ill will, hatred, ego. All these are evil things, and they are very difficult to control. You have to train the mind so that these devils are not really the devils, but these bad forces that cause suffering to yourself and to others. Suffering to yourself, not only in this life, but in lives to come also, you will pay for your wrong actions because of the mental evil forces inside you, which can be translated into speech because you are very, very angry now. You speak terrible words and you curse people and you scold people, right? It starts with the mind. You got angry, isn't it? And then after that, wow, you might give the fella a slap or you might even kill the fella. It's so angry. So everything starts with the mind. So the Buddha warns all of us to be very careful. Then the next line has this point about greed. Greed is one of the things that are unwholesome. So he said, let not greed and wickedness. Wickedness means evil, right? The bad things drag you to protracted misery. Protracted means it will go on and on a very long periods of time. That's the meaning of protracted. In other words, it can drag you to suffering later part in your life and also your future lives when you get reborn into the suffering states. The suffering states like hell, animals, and ghosts, right? So you can see this story emphasizes on greed. But you have other wicked things like anger, hatred, cruelty, ego, jealousy, or ill will. A lot of all those negative forces that cause you suffering, cause other suffering, and will cause you also to bring the suffering to future lives. That's why you have to be very careful. That's what this Dhammapada verse is about, which is very, very meaningful, isn't it? Because it wants to this verse reminds us about the evil things that can follow us from life to life. The effects, if you were to do the evil things, then you face the evil consequences. And here I have put 3 cartoon images just to illustrate. And these things actually happen in life, right? Of course, sometimes you see on movies even more violent. I did not want to put those very violent, and so I pick cartoons and not the real life situation. But actually, when you see movies nowadays, wow, so violent and aggressive, I didn't want to do that. So I just want to let you know the message. So I pick cartoons. That's the reason. Now, I find this case actually is about killing. So you find today you have so much of killing all over the world, right? People want to fight wars. And then not only that, you have human beings torturing other human beings. And some people torture the animals also. Those are evil things. And they start with the mind of anger, hatred, jealousy, ill will. All those negative evil forces in the mind that cause the person to, let's say, carry out the action using the speech and the body. Here in this case, it shows the hitting, making the player suffer in pain and then maybe killing. Of course, I chose one that uses a stick, or there in all cases I use a terrible, very powerful guns and shoot. As you know, even in US now today, you have crazy people using the guns going to shoot the children in the school, isn't it? You have heard of that. So that is an unwholesome thing to do. So when you reflect on this, and then we will change if we have bad thoughts. Because if you're not careful, these bad thoughts, because of greed. Because of greed, now you plan to steal, you plan to kill. Terrible, isn't it? And this one shows, of course, robbery, burglary, stealing, bad guy lah. He has a weapon, Many people experience these sort of things, being robbed, right? Marked. And then also burglars break into your house and to steal things like that. You wouldn't want people to steal your things, right? So likewise, you should not steal other people's things. But then you see some people, the greed is so strong, they don't sort of remember, or the thing overcomes them. The greed overcomes them. They forget that stealing is an unwholesome action. There's a price to pay, but they still, isn't it? Wow, this one is even worse. Today also you have animal sacrifice, wow, sometimes they kill the animals to offer to the gods, all this terrible, right? So Buddhists are against the killing not only of human beings but of animals, and gods, and of course in Buddhism, sacrificing animals to please gods and pray to gods is not the teaching. How can the God be pleased when you kill an animal to sacrifice to the God, isn't it? So this one is just an animated cartoon. You see, I just slaughter off the sheep or the lamb or things like that. I chose a cartoon but today it's happening. And even worse, you have seen cases of terrorists slaughter the human beings, by cutting off their necks, Oh, yeah, have you? Maybe you have not seen it. I've seen it on the video, right? Not the real one. I think I wouldn't dare to see the real one. It's terrible, horrifying. And these are evil actions for which a big price has to be paid. Later on in life, they may face with the suffering already. And the thing is, future lives. Not only one life, many lives to come, because you kill or torture, then you will face with a lot of suffering, short lives, painful life, and then always sick in a life. All this has got to do with the karma of the past. It cannot be a God that makes you like that, isn't it? Why is it that a poor child, innocent, he doesn't even know what is good or bad, and yet he's suffering from kecacatan. Some with one arm only, and then some with skin diseases, some cacat mentally. That the poor child doesn't know anything. You think God is punishing the fella to teach other people? I think I can't accept that. I find it's not logical. The God supposed to be merciful. It's not the case of the God. It's a case of a law. A law of the law of karma is related to our past. Our past, because of ignorance, we have done certain unwholesome things out of ignorance, and then we are getting the results. But then eventually we will learn. We will learn and avoid those unwholesome actions. And that's what we are teaching Dhamma for, to tell you the type of life you must lead. So that is this thing. Now let us go on to the last slide. Short, right? 10 slides only, but a lot of things to discuss. So it will take about 1 hour also. So I hope you appreciate the Dhammapada verse, right? That the Buddha warns us about evil things. Very hard to check, you don't put in the effort. It's very easy to be greedy. It's very easy to go and cheat people. Maybe you see, want to earn an honest living, struggle, work hard, more difficult, isn't it? To go to, but these people don't realize that is the wrong way to do. That's why to learn evil things, I think quite easy. That's why there's a Chinese saying, it just takes 3 days only. You can learn a lot of evil things or bad things. But you want to learn to do good things, you might need 3 years. I think there's a Chinese wise saying. It's very true. So therefore, we have to be extra careful. And since everything starts with the mind, we must be always aware. All right, to pay attention to what is going on in your mind. If your mind, you find the greed is coming, oh, I want to do this unwholesome action. He didn't say unwholesome, he said, I want to go steal the plus things, right? Or I want to cheat the blood of the money. It starts with that, but you have not done that yet. But you're planning. You have to be careful at that stage from the mind. You have to check it. When you know Dhamma, then you know it's important to check it and cast away these sort of thoughts so that you won't go and do those things. The evil thoughts can come, isn't it? In various ways. So, because if you let all these thoughts of greed, anger, hatred, ill will, ego overtake you, then you have the wrong speech you will be using. You curse people, you condemn people, you lie, and then you do the bad things of killing, stealing, right? And also you commit sexual misconduct, you rape somebody, or you commit adultery with somebody's wife or somebody's husband, and you drink and become mabuk. So various things you do because you did not check your mind. So this is a very good Dharma teaching for you. Now let us go on to the last slide. Now, the Malay version comes out first, but we are going to discuss in English. So we are going to go one by one, the 3 teachings of Dharma in English. So let us look at the first Dharma teaching. This was what I said just now. Greed can lead a person to do bad actions, bad deeds, like lying. I think you know very well, when a person is overcome by greed, let's say a businessman, or even a politician, or even the police, all sorts of people. Nobody is free from that until you become Arahant or Buddha. Otherwise, we subjected to these thoughts, So you begin to lie. When you are selling goods at a ridiculous price, or your goods are not good if you're a businessman, and you lie and say, oh, this blur, praise me, because I sell very good things very cheap. All lying, that is not good, isn't it? So it can lead to lying, and of course, cheating. Why is it that you have so many scams and so many con men around? I think you have heard our people losing hundreds of thousands of dollars via the internet. Macau scam and so many types of scam. Why? Actually, the motivating force, greed. They have this greed, so they cheat people. In a way, actually, is stealing also. They can even access into your bank account via the internet, and then you find, my account kosong already because they have cheated you. So you have to be careful even in the use of the internet and so on. But nothing is certain, these things happen. And you find what happens. This will cause others pain, definitely. When others are being cheated, right, have their things stolen or being lied to, as a result, they will face with a lot of unhappiness and sorrow. And you who did all those things have committed bad karma. All these sort of deeds start with the mind having the greed, will generate the bad karma. And this bad karma will have their consequences or results, what we call in Pali the vipaka. So if it doesn't happen in this life, you cannot escape it. Rebirth, reincarnation will take place in the next life. That's why in the world you find there are people, who are very, very poor, impoverished, born in certain parts of Africa, people with short lives, people born cha-cha, people born moronic. Why all these things? Is it the God that caused you now will be cha-cha, you will have short life? It's not like that. It's cause, effect, follow a natural law of karma. The Buddha answered this in one of the scriptural books called the Middle Length Discourses. I did that with the doubts. I did a presentation also on that. But just to tell you in a very simple way, do good, good will come to you. Do bad, bad will come to you. That's all, very simple. So you can read the Malay version yourself. Now let us go on to the second one. Now I want to talk about the most deadly poisons. In this case here, the poisons don't refer to the chemicals like the insecticides or certain racun that you drink and can die. No, these are mental poisons. Mental poisons will be the evil forces, the bad forces. Of course, sometimes, other religions say that Satan muscle or this is for Buddhists. No, it's actually the evil forces coming from the minds, the depth of mind. Previous lives might have carried over these evil forces, the evil tendencies. That's why you find some people are born and then after that become very, very bad people. Some turn out to be serial killers. I have seen some movies and actual cases I followed also. Murder so many people, chop them to pieces and cook curry. There are people who do that, serial killers. Why? Actually, it's coming from the past. They had those things in their mind and did not correct. But they also had done some good. So when they become a human being, they become what we call, some say you're perverted. But it's not really, we use a word like this. It's because now he has those forces in the mind, the evil forces that he had no control over. And it will carry on and on until you meet with the Dharma, learn the Dharma, practice the Dharma, and this can go off. Just like the story of Angulimala. He killed 900 over people, until he met the Buddha. And later on, he changed over. He became a monk, and he really developed so well, and eventually he became enlightened. So no so-called evil person is beyond hope. No such thing. If you change, you still can. So remember that these three things, greed, anger, and hatred, I lump together, and then many other things come under this lump, which is in Pali called dosa. Greed comes under loba in Pali. Loba covers greed, covetousness, right? And strong bad desires for things, all under this greed element. And then hatred, anger, is an evil force. Do you like a person who has very, very bad temper, hot temper? Do you like a person that's full of hatred, always wanting to take revenge? Right? You won't, isn't it? And delusion is having the wrong views of things. He doesn't know what is the right view. And also, delusion is tied up with your very strong ego. That person has a very, very great ego, no? And nobody likes a very proud person who is egoistic. And this ego can drive you to do wrongful things. Why? Because you want muka, ma. You want to protect your face, ma. Right? So when somebody says something, you are not happy, you bombard the fella already. And if you are a big boss, you will really punish the fella also. Why? Because of the ego, delusion. No compassion, no metta. So these are three mental poisons that bring dukkha. Dukkha, best translation is suffering. And this will bring the person to suffering. Maybe later part in the life, if it doesn't happen in the later part of our life, then you don't forget there are more lives to come. You cannot escape. You understand? There are some people don't know that there's this rebirth. They say, how come so bad? But the people live until 90 years old, also never suffer much or so fat, everything. But do you know what is going to happen at the moments of death and then the future life? You don't know also. He has some good karma also. So the bad karma will come out, matter of time also. So it's not for us to judge. Important thing is you keep on doing good, avoid evil, and purify your mind. That is the important thing. Now let us go on to the last of the Dharma teachings. We can call it life lessons if you wish. We must practice contentment and gratitude to those who have helped us. Actually, this story also is tied up with this. This Brahmin's wife was a very greedy person, right? She should actually practice contentment. And she should think, well, I'm actually very fortunate, very lucky. Wow, now, she could live quite comfortably in a big mansion, luxurious life, and yet the greed overcame her. That's one thing, not practicing contentment. So contentment is a very important spiritual quality to practice, so that you would not have this greed arising, selfishness arising, all the negatives also negative start coming out, particularly greed and attachment and wanting things, covetousness. When you practice contentment, right? You say you're quite lucky, count your blessings. I do my best, I have enough. So some are not enough. 1 million must become 2 million. 2 million must become 1 billion and so on. So there is no contentment. And in that process, because of the greed, he does a lot of unwholesome actions, as I've told you. Big problem in our country, even corruption. And the other point is about gratitude. In fact, this story also you can reflect. The son was very, very helpful, right? Very kind. To offer 1 feather per week, then the family could live very comfortably, luxurious life even. So in fact, the wife, the ex-wife of this one, Yasora, so the wife should be very grateful, isn't it? For what she had been given, even 1 golden feather a week is so much already, but yet no gratitude. The greed overcame her to the intent that she had in the mind, the decision to take pluck all the flowers, not all the flowers, all the feathers, to pluck all the feathers from the swan. And do you know how painful it can be? What will happen to that bird? Can it after that fly? Will it die? You probably can die also. So where is the gratitude? So these two qualities are very important if you really want to walk the Dharma way. Apart from many other things like dana, sila, that means generosity, and then keeping the precept. These two are very important. Contentment and gratitude, especially gratitude to those who have helped us. Most important, the gratitude to your parents, filial piety, whom you earn. Today, sad to say, is going down. And in the scripture, the Buddha said, in the Anguttara Nikaya said, two types of people very hard to find in the world. The first is the group of people who is very kind-hearted, willing to help, willing to do the good things without even being asked. Without being asked, they are very spontaneous in wanting to do a good, kind thing. Very hard to find this type of people. Very true. No wonder so many Buddhist organizations are lacking in volunteers to teach the Sunday school, or to work in the kitchen, in the ladies section, or to do building maintenance and many other things, or to do welfare. So very hard to find people, Young people also very hard to find, because young people have so many things to do like TikTok and YouTube and Facebook. That's the first category. The Buddha said, Buddha, with all the wisdom, knew this long time ago. And say the second group of people very hard to find are the people who are grateful, who know how to show gratitude, especially to the people who have helped them, to their parents, their grandparents, their teachers, the monks and nuns who have offered good teachings. Very hard. They take things for granted. I know. I've been teaching for more than 30 over years, 40 years. I find it's more easy to find people who are not grateful. But for me, I just reflect on this. What the Buddha said very true. I just keep doing what I can do. That's all. Because if you expect certain things, then you give up in the end, you won't do anything. Right? So now we have come to the end of this presentation. I hope you have learned good Dharma from this very simple story. There have been posts on other stories quite similar. I remember there's a story of the greedy woman, or the family with the elephant with the golden tusk, quite similar in the Dharma teaching. But this one has different things also. So I was thinking I must do this again, right? With the theme of greed, because it's a big issue today. So that's why I spent many, many hours to get ready this presentation, which I just finished just a couple of hours ago. Okay, now before we say sadhu 3 times, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all you boys and girls and students of Buddhist Sunday School and Dharma classes, and also the parents and grandparents who are guiding the younger generation to learn good Dharma, and also the teachers. There are teachers who have been very dedicated to teach Dharma to the young ones. Right? So to all of you, I say thank you and sadhu. You have put in your effort and taken time to follow this more than 1 hour presentation of the story as well as the Dhamma discussion. So sadhu and thank you. So now let us pull our palms and say sadhu 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. To all of you students, boys and girls, and all those, including the adults and youth members who are watching this presentation, I say thank you and sadhu. May you all be well, happy, peaceful, and may the blessings of the Triple Gem be always upon you. That is very important. But to get the blessings, you need to practice the Dharma well. Right? Blessings come with the good practice of Dharma. So take care.